Pretty stuff. 5 for fighting in 100 years. It's KCHW 102.7 Northern Lights Public Radio. Your Scott and Jean morning show, and a special friend of ours hanging out with us today, Mr. Paul Armin Odian. How you doing this morning, Paul?
Good, Scott.
All right. So glad that you're willing to come in and talk about your craft. We've done this with a few other people now, and it's a lot of fun finding out what other people do and some of their life experiences and all that fun stuff. And me and Jean are both friends with you, so we know a little bit of your history. So we thought it would be a good thing for you to experience, too, is coming and being on the radio.
Thank you.
So now wave your hand, too, because you and Jean are looking beautiful together on the web. Oh, gosh, you guys look good. Wow.
See? Nice.
Wow. Chihuahua TV at kchw.org. Just click on the listen page, and you can click the link right there to open up the webcam. Because Paul's also going to do some demonstrations. If you're curious to watch that, we'll try to brighten up the feed and zoom in on what he's doing. He's going to lay hands on both of us at some point.
Actually, yours is going to be a Tai Chi demonstration.
Oh, it is?
Yes. And hers is going to be a muscle energy technique.
All right, so she gets something that feels good, and you're going to kick me or something?
No.
Okay, okay.
It's movement.
Oh, okay.
Healing
Fluid
movements,
movement.
right?
Okay, all right. All right. So we'll start off here and just kind of ask you, how did you come? Because it's an interesting life choice for a career. I have a child who is very good at back rubs, but doesn't like to touch people. But when she puts her hands on you, it's just like, wow. I mean, just some people have that gift. And how did you come to doing massage?
Well, for one thing, I've heard from my clients, many of my clients, they'll say, oh, yeah, I always know when it's Johnny, or it always knows Mary, the one child that has the touch and just knows what to do.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty common theme. And actually, that's where massage begins. Some people choose to be massage therapists, but a lot of people are chosen, to do it. And they're born with that gift, and they can't keep from doing it. My first childhood memories, believe it or not, I was probably at the age of 5. My sister was just born, and I used to get my uncle and aunt to take off their shoes, and I used to rub their feet. I was just maybe just 5, 6 years old. By the time I was 11, my Uncle Dick used to pay me 35 cents to work on his shoulders, and I'm going to be 66 soon. That's a lot of money back in 65. That was a candy bar cost 5 cents, right?
You were stocked up for the week, right?
Yeah,
nice.
And plus, I was receiving the approval of an adult as a young child, doing something that
sure
was appreciated. By the time I was 15 or 16. I got fascinated with reflexology, and I've actually had minor miracles happen through working on people's feet, including I induced labor in a woman when I was only 22 years old at a home birth, and actually the placenta ended up coming out in pieces, and so it was pretty a serious deal, and if labor hadn't been induced, then they said that it would have been not good for either the baby. Yes, it was actually stillborn at first, and then it came to life, and the placenta came out in pieces, and the midwife was very concerned. But the thing about it is that I had no license to do massage. I was in construction at the time, but it was so much a part of me that everyone went to sleep in the house. Everyone, one after the other, everyone was going to sleep. And finally, I was exhausted. I was in construction at the time, and I felt like, oh, my God, I got to go to bed. And as I'm walking past the woman, she's tapping her fingers like this on the table, and this feeling inside said, oh, my God, I can't leave her sitting there. I have to do something. So let me keep her company. So I said, I'll keep you company. I could sleep anytime, okay? Even her husband was asleep, midwife, everyone was asleep. Okay, so I said, well, I couldn't just sit there, right? So I said, well, give me your feet. Let me start working on your feet. So I worked on the one foot. Halfway through the second foot, she started to have labor pains. She said, wake everyone up. It's happening.
We're going.
Yeah, and then the baby came out still born blue. It was one of those silences that you just never forget, in your life.
I was a blue baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've heard all the stories from my family. It does. And they told my mom that it was going to be an issue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And every bit of feeling in their husband, and every bit of feeling from that midwife poured into me, and I was just like, oh my God, time stood still. And then all of a sudden, this energy came into the room. I felt like something pushed me against the wall, because I'd been in an explosion once before. I knew the feeling. And it actually was an energy that came in the room, and the baby turned pink, and and it was just the most relieving moment, I think, of my life to see that baby come to life. But the point is that I didn't study how to induce labor or anything like that. I just did what was natural to me.
What felt like was the right thing to do for that
and
given
so when
situation.
You ask where it began, it's like it's got to be natural and it's got to come from you. You know, it's unique to who you are, really.
And if no one has ever done reflexology, I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I was a very ill child, and my mom and dad went to great lengths, including nefarious scientific experiments in Canada, trying to make me better. And one of the things she did was learn reflexology. And I can remember all the times. From the time I was born till I was 10, I've been in the hospital 42 times.
Wow.
And so I have lots of memories of my mom rubbing my feet because it was one of the things she could do that would calm my breathing and stuff. So, yeah, crazy.
And talking about feet, you know, my, well, I have this picture. I can.
All right, so Jean's going to hold it up if you're on the webcam here, and let me switch things around here. Keep it up, twist it a little toward me, Jean. And I got the wrong one here, and I am going to zoom in on it a little bit there so they can see it well. All right, it is pretty big. Go ahead and
now this
tell us
photo
what
was taken around 1917, and it was before the massacres happened. The Armenians were massacred by the Turks. My whole family basically was massacred. But basically, that woman there was the healer of her village, and that woman was my grandmother who survived the massacres.
Okay.
And I grew up with that woman. And, you know, 11-year-old girls are pretty savvy. You know, they watch, they learn, and she's watching her grandmother do the things she did. So I grew up with a lot of touch. My grandma would touch my feet. If we were ill, she'd come in, and if we were hot, she'd bring our temperature down by touching our feet. So it was very natural for me growing up with touch. By the time I was 19, I got my first book on massage. Like any other hobby, it's like, hey, I better get a book on this. So this is a hippie book. It's called a massage book. They still sell it anyway.
And you, I bet you, can I just guess that you were a real hippie?
Actually, I wasn't. I was pretty straight.
He was in construction. Can you imagine being a hippie in construction?
No. I can't even imagine him in construction, swinging a hammer.
And so anyway,
and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that does not seem like I think you were doing something. You saw, oh, this is a way to make good money,
no,
right?
I'll tell you what happened.
Okay.
What happened was I got my first book on massage. I was doing full body massages, but at that time it was an accepted modality of treatment. Either you were an Olympiad or a wealthy person, you know, or an actor and actress, okay, or a boxer, okay. But the public wasn't really open as a modality of treatment to the public, okay? And so I went into construction, because when you have a gift, you don't think of it as, oh, what am I, you know, okay, I have a gift, but what am I going to do for a living, okay? I know how to cook, too, but I wasn't going to go be a chef, you know?
It's like being an artist, right?
In a way, yeah.
You know, you're a musician, yeah.
And so at that point, I went into construction, but a week didn't go by without me doing some massage on someone. I worked on my wife's pregnancies. I married twice. My children, co-workers, and my father. All my life, I massaged him. Anytime he saw me, he'd say, hey, can you work on my shoulders and so on. And finally, the calling became very strong, because as time went on, it did become an acceptable modality, but I was stuck in that provider role, and it was very frustrating. I spent 29 years as a carpenter. I was a good carpenter, and I enjoyed it. People enjoyed me doing it, but inside I was very unfulfilled, very unhappy. When I finally decided to go to school in 1999. I went to school and acquired my license so that I could practice as a professional.
You must have been a
So
good
that's how I
carpenter.
actually.
You must have been a good carpenter too, you know. And I was just kind of teasing, but because somebody in the alley the other day, when we were visiting, was trying to talk you to get back into carpentry,
Oh,
and you were
great.
like, "Yeah, no."
Yeah, he was teasing. Yeah, he was teasing.
But if somebody does that, it means you were good at it. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
we worked together.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us. This is one of my favorite stories of yours, and we could really get hung up on this one. so I'll try to keep my mouth shut and let you kind of just move along with it.
Okay.
But this kind of goes along with how you got started in your childhood on massage, and that is your neighbor Rose.
Yes.
And everybody has that one. Or maybe two, if you're lucky, three, if you're even luckier, people that really kind of inspired you as a child and made you think about things and stuff. I have two that are right here from Chihuahua. One of them has passed away, Sherry Frizzell, and the other one is John May. He taught a psychology class in high school, and John can put some pretty opinionated things in the newspaper, but for his kids in that psychology class, there was no opinions. He challenged us all to think. It was the funnest class. I mean, that was my two favorites, psychology and drama. So I get having that person in your life that inspired you. So tell us about Rose.
Well, there are a lot of strands that come into what I do. So one of them is that I felt I was born with this because I've been doing it since I was a child. And there was my near-death experience I had at 15 when I started to notice the heat energy coming into my hands and that feeling and what was coming through when I did touch people. And then in addition to that, one of the biggest strands is Rosa, a blind woman, my blind neighbor. And so I'll just share that story if it's okay.
Yeah.
I was 4 years old. I had a blind neighbor. She was older than I was, much older. She was in her late 50s. She was the blind lady next door. I was enamored by her. It was a very mysterious, very magical thing. I'm 4 years old, very curious. Unbeknownst to me, she was enamored by me. My mother told me that later in life, as I was an adult, she told me that Rose would ask my parents, how could a child of 3 or 4 be asking these questions he's asking? So I don't know what I was asking, but apparently she had an interest in me. I had an interest in her. And when you live in the city, you can hear things back and forth. So anyway, I'm 4 years old. It was a beautiful spring-like day. I grew up in Queens. New York City is like the big city, the big buildings. Well, the boroughs are like New York City light. They're not. It's not like the whole hubbub. It's quiet. And it was a beautiful spring day, like a spring kind of day, summer kind of a day. We each had the same kind of fan, and we had a fire escape that we shared. So I'm sitting there looking at her. She can't see me, and I'm thinking, how can I befriend her? How can I befriend her? And it's one thing to remember your childhood at 4, but it's another thing to remember what you were thinking. It's truly a visceral memory.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm frustrated, and I'm thinking, how do I talk to her? How do I talk to her? And I was just so nervous and frightened. And I looked down the hall, and I saw my mother walk across the hall, and this voice inside said, well, Mommy and Daddy are married, and I'm somehow connected to them. So, I know. Our fans will get married, then we'll be friends. Took all the courage in the world. When you're a little kid and your voice cracks and you get, And so anyway, it took all the courage in the world. And I said, do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? And she looked at me, and I still remember the smile in her face and the sweetness in her voice. And she looked at me, and she said, I have a girlfriend. Of course, she's way ahead of me, right? But anyway, I got very...
You're like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened, exactly what happened. I screamed, and I said, I have a boyfriend. And it was like, and so right then, my mother came over and yelled at me, and she screamed at me, and she said, Paul, leave the lady alone. And all of a sudden, I thought, okay, what did I do now, right? And in that moment, if you could imagine that mother-bear kind of energy of a bear and a cub, that kind of protection of a mother and child, let's say, right? Well, Rose broke through that, and she yelled a no. I still remember her voice rattling, and in all the years we were together, I never heard her yell like that. She screamed, no, and it was like a rattling in her voice. And I don't want to point because I don't like pointing at anyone. But
and you smack the mic when you do it and stuff.
We're New Yorkers. We talk. But anyway, and then she said to my mother very clearly, she said no, after she screamed no, she said, you let that boy talk to me. Just like that. I couldn't believe what was happening. Someone's yelling at my mother, right? And if she had a tail, she would have put it between her legs and left.
Yeah.
Now, next thing, I'm in Rosa's apartment. Of course, I'm a pest. She has all her Braille stuff out. What are you doing? So anyway, she says, here, Paul. And she put her hands in my armpits. I still remember the feeling. And she put me in her easy chair. And she gave me a wooden-handled stylus with which to press through a template bar, which pressed the letters, the dots, to create letters. And it was such a visceral memory. That I was 4. What could I spell? My name, right? But it was such a visceral memory. I still remember the P and the R and being confused because they look so much alike. And when you have a little angst and then, what is it? And then all of a sudden it's like, the R that comes when you get it. I still I can feel that in my body. It was such a visceral memory. That
aha moment.
Yeah, and the frustration of like, is it a P? And then, it's the P. Okay, and I got it. And if I sat with a blind person today, like I tell people, I'd be like, okay, my left brain would be, okay, I get it. This is how this works. So interesting, blah, 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 right? But with the innocence of a child, I just looked up at her and I said, but I want to do what you were doing when I came in here. And she said, here, I'll show you that too. And she said, put your fingers on the letters you made and close your eyes. And you can imagine how excited I was. I mean, it was tripping. It was incredible. And she put each of her fingers on each of my fingertips, and she started to move around with the same movement, or in medical terms, the same palpation that she was using to perceive the world herself as a blind person. It was one of the most exciting moments of my life. I felt this, because she brought, little boys, little boys, they're rough, right? Tough.
Yeah.
Rough-handed. Look at how I even hit the mic, right? But anyway, she brought me to the other end of the spectrum and showed me that I could just feel and sense As soon as I walked in the door to my apartment, I shut the door and I shut my eyes and I started walking around blind. I started touching everything I could touch without my eyes and seeing and feeling and seeing with my hands.
Trying to see the world through her eyes.
Okay, and the next day, I was chomping at the bit to go back there because her door was open to me. And I still remember, when you remember visions of things, I still remember standing at the threshold of the door and the marble-looking threshold and the steel door and that feeling of, I got to break out of my house and go to be with Rose again. And by the third time, my little brain figured out, okay, Rose is blind, that's what she reads Braille, but our friendship was seated, and we were like this. And from age 4 to 19, she was a
4 to 19.
She was a friend, a mentor, and I used to take her for walks as she got older. I'm very empathic, so I picked up a lot of things, and sometimes from people's sadnesses and things, and sometimes I'd go to her and talk to her, and she'd always bring me to a level of enlightenment, of upliftment. She never bring me to blame or any of those things. She'd always bring me to a higher place, and it was just really sweet to have that relationship. And the beautiful serendipitous thing is that when I was 19, she said, Paul, I want to move from the apartment house. I said, well, why, Rose? You know, Mike brings you groceries, blah, blah, blah. I do this for you and so on. And she says, well, I'm getting older and I want to acclimate myself while I still can, considering that I'm blind. I said, well, Rose, you know, that makes a lot of sense. And we parted without a tear because it was a non-codependent relationship. There was nothing to be sorry for. It was just one of these God-given relationships. It was just, we got to be with each other. And the influence that it had in my life is beyond major. And as a healer, as a massage practitioner, having her in my life enhanced what I do. And I could still probably be doing it, but it wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't have been as beautiful.
And the thing, and so when we parted, she said, now I want you to go through the apartment and take out anything that you want is yours.
Oh, wow.
And I answered her so quickly. I said, no, I know what I want already, Rose. I want the butterfly that I saw when I was 4 years old when I walked into your room by the side of your closet doors, that butterfly. And she said, that's all you want? I said, yeah, but I really want it. She says, of course, it's yours. And I still have that butterfly. In fact, it's in my massage room to honor her influence in my life. So, yeah.
Really sweet story.
Yeah.
All right. So in your career, what are some of the things, you know, I guess you call them accolades, but some of the things that people say to you that have inspired you to keep going?
Yeah, and I need that. I think we all need that, you know, because we want to be appreciated. You know, especially if you have a gift you want to share it, you're compelled to share it. That's the thing about it. You know, I have something called Musings and Accolades, which we put on my website a little later on down the week for people. But I call them musings and accolades, funny things that have happened, and also accolades, things that people have said that have, you know, been really beautiful for me to hear. And one of those is just a happenstance. I happened to be in Soap Lake, Washington, and I was working there, and I worked on a woman, and after I worked on her, she came out to pay me, and she was very well dressed and very kind of, you could see her, she was very dignified in the way she was presenting herself and her speaking and so on. And so she said, you need to know something. And I said, okay. And she said, you need to know that was very, very good. And I said, well, thank you. Please come back again. She says, oh, no, I don't know. Don't know when I'll ever be coming back to this part of the world. So I was thinking about my next person, and just, anyway, it went over my head, basically. So I went into the room to do my next massage. And it was such a fluke. It was one of those things that just, you know, the owner of the facility said to me, do you know that woman you worked on? Well, yeah. She said, well, she told me that she was a world traveler, and that she's been traveling around the world, the globe, for 30 years. This was like 5, 6 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
And she said, I get massage in every country that I go to. And then she pointed to the room I was working in. This is the owner's telling me this, and she's saying to me, that man in that room gave me the best massage I've ever received in my entire lifetime. And the thing is, it's not an ego thing. It's not a bragging thing, because I don't know anyone that's traveled around the world for 30 days knows 30 years, okay? and the thing is, it's just fluke, right? I mean, it could have happened to anybody. But the fact that we somehow came together and that was given to me, it gave me an inspiration to move on. And I have one other thing I'll just share with you is that, you know, many years ago in 2002, I was kind of frustrated. It's a small town, right? And it's a lot of, you know, whatever.
You've been here for a long time.
Well, actually, since 1992 was when I first came. Yeah, I came to Washington sight unseen. I just knew that I needed to be here.
So it's 26 years.
I came through, 26 years, yeah. And so one day I called the publisher of the National Massage Magazine, which was located in Spokane, of all places. And they were in Hawaii and Seattle, but then they moved to Spokane to be with family. And I called Judy Calvert, the co-publisher of the Massage Magazine, and I said to her, I have a gift, and I just would like someone in the massage world to get a massage from me. I live in a really small town, and I'm getting frustrated. She said, come on down. So I went and worked on her. 2 weeks later, the phone rang. When are you coming back? I would just love to get another massage from you. And her and her husband basically were the massage industry, and it was really a beautiful to be appreciated by her. And to this day, we maintain a friendship. In fact, we were just visiting recently, and we're going to be visiting again. And so having her approval, and I'm not going to tell you the things she said to me, but it's just over the top. But I'll just say that it's really good for me as a person to have someone in the massage field that I can talk to and relate to, and that relates to me and honors me for the enthusiasm and for the work that I do. And so, you know, she's had thousands and thousands of massages. She's been all over the world. You know, China. They've been with shaman in South America, masters in China. I mean, it's unreal the exposure they've had and what they've done in their time. They sold the magazine quite a while ago, but our friendship endures.
Nice, nice. And it's good to know someone that understands your craft and appreciates what you do and all that kind of stuff too, right? I'm going to ask you to explain one of the things that I saw on your card, and then we're already kind of running behind. So let's let you do your thing with Gene.
Okay, sure.
And put that on and let people see that on the webcam. So on your card, along with your message, it says bodywork. What's the difference?
Okay. There are many osteopathic techniques that are allowable in the scope of massage. These are powerful techniques. In chiropractics, they do adjustments. In these techniques, in some of the schools of osteopathy, we do what's called a correction, where we release the muscle that's causing the difficulty. Real quick, just to go to school for a second, muscles aren't like rubber bands. Most people think of them as these stretchy things that just go back and forth. But really what they are, they telescope, and that's how they shorten and lengthen, okay? So imagine a strand of spaghetti and then segment it end to end, and each segment is a motor unit. One is a flat U, and one is an arrow. So what happens is, it gets a nerve impulse, and it goes in like that. And when they all do that at once, they telescope and shorten, okay? Creating a contraction, okay? Shortening the muscle and hence moving. Okay, when they slip out, they extend. Well, what happens is some of our muscles are overly contracted, so they're stuck like that, and the ones that are on the extended side are the ones that are actually causing the pain. For instance, no one ever complains about the front of their neck hurting. It's always the back of the neck. Well, the front of your neck is very strong. Well, the back of the neck has to fight against that, so looking up, of course, is more difficult. And in the same with when people complain about the rhomboids and the trapezius muscle in between the shoulder blades here, okay? Everyone has some stress or some pain there, especially because it's the adrenal area. Anyway, what happens is the pectoral muscles are overly contracted, and these muscles are at their end of the line. So they lose their integrity, and now the spinal segments deviate, and then there's compression on the nerves, and you cause pain, and you go get adjusted, or you go get a massage, and it's like, okay. But the real issue is in the upper muscles here, in the pectoral muscles. And so in a way, we see a lot of symptomatic healing, whether it's massage, chiropractics, or whatever, because it's like, or PT or whatever. It's like, where does it hurt? It hurts here. And it's like,
what kind of healing? You just said
PT or
you
physical
said
therapy.
systematic healing? Is that what you said?
No, symptomatic healing.
Symptomatic
in other
healing.
words, your neck hurts, right?
Okay.
Well, some of the muscles for your neck originate in the hip. So if I'm not looking at the real cause, if I'm not looking at everything from a full directional view, then I'm only focusing on person's pain. If I chase pain, you can only feel one pain in the body at any point in time. So if I'm chasing someone's pain, I'm not really serving them. I have to look at the picture and see why. And so oftentimes it's releasing the opposite muscle, and that happens with the low back, releasing the muscles that bring your knees up to your chest as you're sitting. They shorten, shorten, shorten. The back has to fight against that.
Okay.
When you release the front. So I'm going to demonstrate muscle energy technique now on Gene.
Woohoo!
I think somebody was. I think that's why our phone was going off. The camera got bumped. So give me here a second.
Yeah. So
and nobody could see you. Yeah. So I think that's why somebody was saying, it's like, hey, we can't see you.
Should
idiots.
I raise my mic up so it catches Paul better?
I'm just gonna turn your guys' mic up a lot, and give me a second here before you start, Paul. I'm gonna, because you're kind of in the dark there. I'm gonna brighten it up so people can see your hands. And we'll zoom in a little more there. That looks like a pretty good shot.
Okay.
All right.
And there's no reason for people not to watch this if they're watching, and they can do this. You can do this at home.
All right, and just kind of just for the people that are traveling in their car, just describe what you're doing real well.
Okay. Okay. So basically, we're going to take the force out of the front of her muscles and bring them to the back. This is not rehearsed, and I have so much confidence in these techniques that I'm actually going to say ahead of time that I know she's going to have she's going to see a difference from this. Okay. And you'll see. Okay. So I want you to clasp your hands gently behind your neck.
Behind my neck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you can clasp them. That's it. Perfect. And you can straighten your head just a little bit. That's okay. That's good.
Got to get my hair out of the way. And the headphones here. I'll take my headphones off.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
That'll make it easier.
Okay. And straighten your head just a little bit. Okay. 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 Now, what I'm doing is, and it's interesting because the osteopaths say that you should close your eyes when you're approaching these, what they call a pathological motion barrier.
Okay.
We're going to call it a glitch in the range. So in our range of motion, there are points of resistance that normally we just move through. Now, I'm going to ask you, Gene, not to use your voluntary muscles, okay? There was no surprises. I don't do anything, quick or no surprises. Okay.
You look really vulnerable right now, Gene.
Very gently. I'm just going to spread your arms out, okay? And there's the first point of resistance. Do you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we call that a pathological motion barrier. So we're going to stop there. And then we'll quantify the amount of effort, but I'm going to have you hold your breath, and then with a good third of your effort, we're going to have you pull your elbows together. So hold your breath and try to pull your elbows together. A little harder is good. Perfect. Okay, now breathe out and relax. Some people say 5 to 10 seconds. Some people say 6 to 8. And again, there's another point of resistance. Yours is you were right. You told me the other day in the store that they were really short and tight. Now again, hold the breath and press together. There you go.
She's really enjoying this.
And breathe out and relax. Okay. And you wait till the person's completely relaxed, so they're not using the voluntary muscles. That's the key. Because in life, we don't stop at every barrier, right? We just plow through them.
Right.
But I'm going to find them because that's where the trouble is. And again, hold the breath and press forward. Press together. And we can basically do this to any part of your body. And breathe out and relax. And it's an isometric contraction, which means static. So isotonic means you're moving through while you're contracting, but isometric means stand still. So you don't want to tug of war. You don't want to be fighting with your partner, whoever you're doing this with. And then again, hold the breath and try to pull your arms together. One more time. There you go. And breathe out and relax. And normally I wouldn't have her using as much pressure or power. And go ahead again. But I'm strong enough to equalize that and still maintain an isometric contraction. And the reason I'm letting her use more energy is I want to engage more fibers because I can see how tight she is. And this is my little chance to help her, so I want to get a little more oomph into it. And go ahead again. It's not like more is better or, it's just that that little extra bit of fibers I'm getting now. And relax. Beautiful. Now I didn't want to pull it out any further. Now stand up and kind of spread your chicken wings. Go like that.
How does he know that's what you call them?
Right?
Feel the difference?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you're not saying that just because I'm here, right?
No, I do it.
Okay, all right.
I
Just
feel
making
it.
Sure. So anyway, when you talk about body work, there's an example of it. To me, they'll tell you when you study the body work, oh, you won't have to do so much massage. It's like, oh, wait a second, that's what's on your shingle. That's what you're being paid to do. But when you do massage in conjunction with these techniques, you really get like if I had massaged her back first, and then after she's dressed, after the massage, she's sitting in the chair, and then I was going to do that to you, it would be like, whoa, because everything would have been, all the tissue would have been worked on. So anyway, that's one example of body work. There are also a lot of other schools of osteopathy that I practice in my practice. But anyway, that's one of them. So.
All right.
I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, wow.
You can tell it almost looks like you just woke up from a nap.
Oh,
and your face, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like.
Of course,
actually,
she usually
I could
looks
go
like
take a
that.
nap right now. It's like, wow.
So that's got to be hard on you working on all these people with your own muscles, and then you got to go find a massage therapist that you like.
Self-care is huge. They say the life expectancy of a massage practitioner is 3 to 5. Well, it's now they call them therapists. Sorry, they changed the name. But anyways, 3 to 5 years. It's actually we've decided it's less for some people.
Oh, wow.
So I saw, before we go on to the next part, and I didn't want to do it while you were telling your sweet story, but, I'm the practical joker and stuff, and when you were telling your story and you were talking about Braille, I saw the best Braille joke the other day, and I wanted to share it with you.
Okay.
So what do you think the most startling thing would ever be to read in Braille? Do not touch.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm weird. I saw that the other day and I giggled and giggled. So we are almost out of time. So we're gonna keep moving here. I've got a few questions. I'm gonna try to pick out what you think may be a good one. Is what would you call the best, I guess, massage in your opinion? Because there's a lot of therapists around to choose from. What constitutes a good massage in your mind?
Okay. The most important aspect of a massage is being present, okay? It needs to be spontaneous, and people can't feel like you're working out of a script or a routine, okay? That's about the most important thing that I can say is for people to be present. I'll just really quickly tell you that I worked under a child psychologist once. We worked every week. She'd come in. It was when I was working in Soap Lake, and for a year and a half. She never said very much. After a year and a half, she said to me, I've had to leave my massage practitioners because the massages became so routine that I could almost tell you what they were going to do next. And it was really almost bothering her. She says, I don't know what it is, she says. She wanted to get her mind wrapped around it. She said, I don't know what it is, but every time I come here, it's different. There are some similarities, but every time it's different. And I just answered her very spontaneously, as I'm going to reiterate to you now. I said, that's because I work from present time. I don't work from a script. And I work in a state of trust because I just follow your body. I don't decide what I'm going to do. It's not a preconceived thing. It's a flow. It comes as it comes to me. As your body comes, I follow through. Some people work out of a fear base where it's okay, I know how to do this, I know how to do this, I know how to do this, so I'm going to do this and this and this. I'm not saying everyone does this, but I'm going to do this for you and you and you and you, and I hope it helped you. From my perspective, I become the variable, and as each person comes in, I shift to treat them. So when you talk about like therapeutic versus relaxation, both aspects should be there in the massage. It should be relaxing, and it should also be therapeutic. Yeah, now if someone comes in that just lost their husband or something, I'm not going to go doing muscle energy technique on them. Maybe we'll give them a more gentle massage. But even if someone comes in for therapy, then they should also feel relaxed. Okay, and one other thing that constitutes a good massage is that, some people just dive right in, I, and also Hippocrates, here 400 years before the time of Christ, I talk about it in my article that was published in the Huckleberry Press, the oldest profession. He talks about moving into the body slowly and moving out of the body slowly. So a person has an energy field, you have skin, okay, you have lymphatic, you have superficial tissue and so on, and those are all doors that you move through, and you need like a permission almost to move through them because you have to, that's your job, is to work through them.
Well, if someone's not comfortable, they're going to tighten up on you, right?
Exactly, exactly. And so that no pain, no gain is just the most ridiculous thing. And so anyway, to me, it's a layering process, and then also you want to move out slowly so that you're working, and it should affect the parasympathetic nervous system. A massage should affect lymphatics. It should affect muscles themselves, circulation. All these should be addressed.
And you have a list of things when you're done that you usually say, like drink a bunch of water, expect this, expect that, and it's because you're releasing all that stuff, right?
Yes, well, every chemical reaction has byproducts, waste basically, and it's metabolic waste, right? And so the arterioles bring in nutrients into the cells, and then the venous system takes the junk out, and cleans it out. And so when you get a massage, it accelerates that process. That's why some people say, "Oh, he hurt me." Well, no, you weren't bruised or anything, but you had so much toxins built up in your system that maybe the next day you felt flu-like or you felt achy. But the next time you come in, usually it's smooth sailing and you get through that, because usually it's just if a person has never had body work, sometimes that'll occur the first time, and I do warn people of that.
All right. I want to hit the point. We got about 5 minutes left and talk about something I know nothing about, is Tai Chi, and you're doing some Tai Chi classes, I believe, at the Aaron Huff Memorial Center. Is that right?
Yes, I am, and they're going very, very well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'd love to hear that when somebody tries something new and it works out, because that's always a tough. Doing a class or some kind of training thing are they going to show up for it? That's
It
always the big
exceeded
question.
my expectations, and it's been really exciting, actually.
All right. So explain to us first, as briefly as you can, what is Tai Chi, and how did you get started in this as well?
I think when it first started, I was 12 years old. I'll talk quick. I was about 12 years old.
He normally doesn't talk this fast. He's just trying to fit in the stuff he's got in his head.
And so when I was 12 years old, my friend David comes to school and he says, "Oh, there's these Chinese masters that can ward off 10 men with sticks with it's like, and all these things. It's like these mystical, it's like, oh my God, this whole fantasy is created in my head, right?" And
visions of Bruce Lee movies, right?
Yeah, like that kind of thing. We didn't even have Bruce Lee movies then. This was just the idea of a Chinese person. I mean, I didn't even know what martial art was, And like most martial arts, you get beat up really bad, and then you decide you need to learn how to fight. Is what happened to me. So anyway, later in life, I studied the martial arts, but it always stuck in my head that there was this thing called Tai Chi. Okay. So what happened was, in the beginning of my practice, I had a lot of neck issues from an injury I had when I was 16, and all the construction that I did. And it was the end of the day. I did a couple of massages. It was the very beginning of my practice, and I was in so much pain. I remember sitting at the end of the table, and I was too sad to cry. And I said, "Oh my God, here I am. I finally am following my calling, and my body's too beat up to do it." It was one of those moments. And I had this book because I decided, okay, I couldn't work out on a heavy bag anymore or any of that stuff, being a massage practitioner, So I got a book on Tai Chi, and it was just sitting there. Well, this voice inside said, "Well, why don't you do the exercises?" So I did an exercise, stepped back, read, "Oh, what do I do?" And it took a while. 2 hours later, all my neck pain went away. And it was excruciating pain, okay? It didn't subside. It went away completely. I said, "Oh, my God." Well, the next day, the pain started increasing. I did the exercise again, this time within a half hour, okay? I never stopped doing these exercises, and I put them together into a class called Body Calm. What the Tai Chi came up was my acupuncture friend in Spokane, Dr. Lou. He and I trade together, acupuncture for massage, and he told me about a master that came to China. It's a 200-year lineage. My master's master is renowned in China as one of the Tai Chi masters. I've been studying with Steve for almost 9 years now, with a small break in between, and he considers me an advanced student. And I'm very honored that with his permission, and I take it very seriously, with his permission, I've been given permission to teach. He gave me permission to teach some of the Tai Chi. And so what I did was I put a class called Body Calm together. So any person could come. It's just basically a 3-week class, and you get all the exercises that you need. You could do within 12 to 15 minutes in any space, in airport, without any special clothing or anything like that. So you can basically walk away after the 3 weeks with your own routine. I teach Qigong. I teach the opening of Tai Chi and some Tai Chi exercises so that people can get their energy feeling good and also be able to mobilize all the joints in their body. And if they chose to continue studying the Tai Chi, they would have had the basis with which to do that. And I'll show you that in a demonstration of the Tai Chi, because basically it's an internal thing. It's not just like you can't really cut people loose and say, "Oh yeah, do this and this and this." They'll be just all over the place. But it's the internal that creates the grace in the external movement. It's the internal configuration of the spine, and it's the internal focus. And there are many, many esoteric practices that create this. And it is a very powerful thing. And I can tell you, I have flown across the room many times. And it's very powerful. It's very powerful. And many of the Tai Chi instructors martial arts instructors actually study with my teacher. He's just really on another level. So for me, it's a childhood dream come true. I'm going to be 66, but I feel like a kid. I'm always going to be the student. I know that, and I love it. But I love sharing. And the people who take the class, their eyes light up. They have a lot of energy, and they're very happy having taken the class.
How physical are the classes? Just if somebody's got some compromised health problems.
Actually, this class is perfect for a person that's older. It's also perfect for a guy people that have plenty enough muscles. They need flexibility. They need muscles to work for them without pain. They need range of motion. They don't how many guys do you know that say, "Oh, I wish I could be strong because I'd like to be able to lift that." No, they usually have enough strength to lift all the things they need to lift. If you ask any guy, he's like, and I'm not picking on this guys, but the thing is, it's really looseness and the ability to function that they're looking for. Range of motion, strength in the motion, strength in the range, and so on, not more muscle. And so this class helps you to come into a place of relaxation. You can do this like 12 minutes. You could be done with this before you start your day, before you go out into the world. It's a way to just get your body working right, you know. And that's kind of what the body calm class is about. Yeah, but it's been fun.
All right.
Fun, yeah.
So now, how would if somebody was interested in that class or massages? What's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Easiest way to get a hold, and the best way is my cell phone, which is, should I give that phone number?
Yes.
It's 509-690-7403.
One more time.
509-690-7403.
7403.
Yeah.
I have never heard you talk so fast, so I want to point that out. That he said he was nervous when he came in today, and he just had a lot of stuff in his head that we had talked about to share, and he's trying to get it all out. If you get a massage from Paul, he is very mellow.
Yeah.
And he will not talk to you that fast.
He's been putting an amazing amount of information.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There was a few times I almost wanted, you're on such a roll, I didn't want to stop you. I was going to say, just slow down a hair. But I'm using, but it's good. But I wanted to point that out, that you don't talk that fast when you're giving a massage. It's a very relaxing experience. And what's funny is when you stood up and you started working on Gene, you totally changed too. Not only did Gene get relaxed, but when you started doing it, Paul, you relaxed too. And your I don't know if you noticed it, but your nervousness about being on the radio went away while you were working on her. I mean, you totally got into the moment, both of you. So that's cool, and that was cool to watch, and it was cool to have on the webcam.
I can't wait to go to work on Mondays. I swear to you, and I love what I do, and what it gives me, I can't explain it, but I get the energy that they get. I don't get the massage. I wish I could, but I get the good feeling, and it's I'm addicted to it, and I wouldn't want to live without being able to touch people. It's just who I am.
All right. Very
Yeah.
nice. So we got your phone number
want
out
it-
there. I want websites.
Website is my full name.
Paul Armin Odian, and it's ARMENODIAN.com.
Okay.
All right. And then you had another a person you've talked to me about, Paul Bemer. Did you want to mention something there?
The Beamer. Actually, yeah, I don't have too much time to talk to people about this. So I prefer that people just went to this website. But I basically am offering Beamer sessions. It's vascular therapy, bioelectromagnetic energy regulation, and you can look on that website. If you want to give them that website, they can look at that and see. And if they want to do a treatment with me, I do treatments for $20. I block out a 30-minute slot, and I'll do a Beamer treatment on them. But I don't want to dilute from my practice in the Tai Chi, and sometimes people want to call and talk to me and ask too many questions, and it takes just too much time.
Okay.
So.
And if you're interested in that therapy, you've heard it before. It's Paul. And say it again, Beamer. Am I pronouncing it?
Yes, BEMER.
BEMRgroup.com. So paul.beamergroup.com. And that's some interesting stuff, too, if people wanted to learn more about that. You were talking about a Tai Chi demonstration, but we're really short on time. I have to be somewhere else at 9 o'clock. So is this something that you can demonstrate a little bit on the webcam?
Yeah.
Can we do it? Do you have to describe it?
No, we could it takes about 30 seconds. I could show you.
Okay. Well, let's. Why don't you come stand behind me right there behind that file cabinet?
Okay.
And we're gonna.
Should I take my earphones off?
Yes. Yeah. They won't go that far. And I'll switch the camera around, and we're going to have a little demonstration of Tai Chi for those watching the webcam. And we're going to, can you do this with music in the background?
Sure.
All right. So we're going to roll out the tunes. One more time, we want to thank Paul for being in today. We really appreciate it. His website, paularminodian.com, and that's ARMENODIAN. He's also on Facebook if you want to Google him there. It's Red Mountain Marble Massage. He's got a Facebook page there as well if you want to get in touch with him. Paul, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Scott.
All right.
Thank you, Gene.
All right. And I'm going to roll him some applause, and we're going to roll some music. And for those of you, right now he's on fire, so we probably should switch that webcam view. Come directly behind me right here, Paul.
Okay.
All right. And over that way a little bit and back up. Oh, go the other way. Sorry. It's reversed because it's a camera. All right, there, and we're going to brighten you up, and you can see Paul demonstrating some Tai Chi as we roll out of this with Lovely the Band and Broken. I'm Scott.
I'm Jean.
And it's the one and only Northern Lights Public Radio, KCHW 102.7.